back to the Cinema Lounge podcast. My name is Garrett. I am your host for this, and once again, I've just realized I forgot. I literally leave a note now because I know I'm gonna forget to say the slogan or whatever of the show. So welcome back to the Cinema Lounge podcast, where we just chill and talk about movies. See, I have it written there, and I always forget it for whatever reason, and I don't know why. But today, we are going to be talking about Independence Day, the movie, not the holiday. Well, a little bit about the holiday, because it is Independence Day weekend, or when this video or this podcast is released, it will be Independence Day weekend, or will have been Independence Day weekend. Ironically enough, I didn't even realize this. I watched the movie earlier this morning, and now I'm recording it on July 3rd, the day before Independence Day. I did not realize that today is the actually the 25th anniversary of the movie's release, which is pretty sweet. Did not plan that at all. I actually found out about it as I checked Instagram after watching the movie, which is pretty sweet. But yeah, we'll be talking about Independence Day and just kind of does it hold up, because this was my first time watching it. I've heard, this is like a cultural staple here in America. So I was curious to see if it would hold up, or if it would still carry that same energy as it did back in the day. We don't have a guest today, unfortunately, so I'm just going to be using my second camera, my second webcam, as this shot. This is going to be my final shot of the show. Just so I don't, waste the camera or anything. But before we get into talking about Independence Day and just the probably very brief discussion I will have with you guys about this movie, first, let's just take a look at my. I'm getting all tongue twisted today, and I did while I was recording this next segment. But let's take a look at this week in movie news.
All the days, from this day to that, for one chance, just one chance, to come back here and tell our enemies that they may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom!
Not today. Today we face the monsters that are at our door and bring the fight to them. Today we are canceling the apocalypse!
The 4th of July will no longer be known as an American holiday, but as the day when the world declared in one voice, we will not go quietly into the night. We will not vanish without a fight. We're going to live on. We're going to survive. Today, we celebrate our Independence Day.
Look, I'm gonna be honest. We're outmanned, outgunned. Frankly, most of our competent people are already dead. And if I'm gonna be honest, most of you will be too. I know you're expecting me to say a but, followed by an inspirational thing. But no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm going to stay right here. And you guys will go fight for me. Something America, Independence Day, whatever. Alright. Freedom! Whatever. This week in movie news is brought to you by America. Oh, and Lego leaks. A handful of Spider-Man Lego sets were leaked this week that revealed a new Spider-Man suit, along with a couple of key action set pieces, one of which takes place in, spoilers, the Sanctum Sanctorum. Speaking of Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire is going to be coming back to movies after being gone for 7 years. He will be coming back in Babylon, which will be directed by Damien Chazelle, director of La La Land and First Man. His last movie was 2014's Pawn Sacrifice. Welcome back, Toby! Woo! I didn't have a party favor, so I hope someone edits that in post. Or else I'm gonna look like a freaking idiot. The Amazon Prime series Good Omens just got renewed for a season 2 after 2 years of crickets. Good Omens is based off of the Neil Gaiman book of the same name. Okay, a genuine question. Does anyone watch The Simpsons anymore? Because I heard like the last good season was at the latest, maybe like season 15, and now it's in its 30s, so I don't understand any of that. The show's older than me, and I'm 20. Like, that's bizarre. You know what? That doesn't matter. The Simpsons is doing their take on Avengers Endgame, which will be titled The Good, the Bart, and the Loki? Strange name. Netflix is making another iteration of My Little Pony. This time around it will be called My Little Pony: The New Generation. It will star Vanessa Hudgens, James Marsden, and Kimiko Glenn. The film will be out on September 24th this year. You're welcome, bronies. Speaking of Netflix, Powerhouse Animation has signed a first-look deal with them. They will make more animated projects for the streaming platform, with the Castlevania spin-off, Tomb Raider, and Skull Island series in the cards. Okay, so we've talked about Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, Netflix. What other streaming services am I missing here? Alright, HBO. HBO's The Last of Us has just cast Joel's daughter. Dumbo's Nico Parker will play the ill-fated daughter of the main character in the upcoming streaming show. A new entry of the Fast and Furious franchise is currently being scripted, centering on the hacker villain of the past couple or so movies. I don't know, I haven't seen any of them. But it will focus on Charlize Theron's character Cypher. I don't know if anyone wants this. Did anyone ask for it? I don't know. How does this series keep going? I don't know. Better fasten your seatbelts. Quentin Tarantino, who has announced that he will retire after his next film, is still considering making a Kill Bill Volume 3, adding that it would be really quote-unquote effing awesome to cast Uma Thurman and daughter Maya Hawke together in the same movie. Boo, 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 trailer time. We got a few interesting trailers this week. First off, we have what looks to be a prequel to the childhood classic book series / cartoon Clifford, the Big Red Dog. Clifford the Big Red Dog. That was a struggle. But you know what? The trailer looks fine.
Well, you don't see that every day.
Maybe it's time to feed him.
We also got a trailer for the Sopranos prequel movie, The Many Saints of Newark. And, hey, it looks pretty bueno, eh? Yeah. Busting my balls. Alright, here's a clip.
As far as your nephew goes,
I'm listening.
stay out of his life.
The Don't Breathe sequel also had a trailer, which looks to be portraying the main antagonist in a more sympathetic light. Finally, we're going to wrap up with 3 stories about beloved 90s and 2000s celebrities that have kind of fizzled out. Allison Mack, who I talked about last week, finally got sentenced, and she got sentenced for only 3 years in prison due to her involvement with the sex cult Nixvim. Still don't know how to pronounce it, but I still say stay away from it. Britney Spears has been fighting to get out of a 13-year conservatorship with her father. Mr. Spears owns her entire estate, which essentially means that he gets all the profit for everything she does, making this basically slavery for her. Profits go to him, he receives all benefits, and she basically receives nothing. She just exists in the house. And it even seems like the state of California knew something was up but didn't really investigate it too thoroughly. So that has allowed this conservatorship to be lasting for such a long time. I mean, she's 39 years old, and she's still under a guardianship. She's still owned by her father, and she seems to be like a relatively normal functioning human, so what is up with this? Anyway, all that crap inspired a hashtag Free Britney movement on social media. Instead of freeing Britney, though, the state of California decided to free Bill Cosby. Oh boy. Cosby was released from prison this week on appeal due to the prosecutor for his original case messing with some evidence to make Cosby look more guilty due to what he said was a lack of evidence. This essentially means that Cosby's trial was null and void. It was a mistrial. So Cosby is now free to go without any chance of being tried again for those crimes that he was accused of. I honestly hope he didn't do any of that stuff, because I hate the idea of a guilty man walking because a stupid freaking prosecutor being stupid. Yep. That was This Week in Movie News. America, America, God shed his grace on thee. America. Yep, there it is. Man, what? It's fun watching these back, because you know, about a month ago it was just plopping them in post. Watching them back now, it's just a lot more fun because you get to see how bad how bad it was, or I get to be more critical of it because I'm watching it. I busted out the green screen for this, and by green screen I mean I bought a green blanket that I just like thumbtacked to the wall because I have like no space to actually get a good green screen set up in here. So it's just tacked to the wall. And the only light I used is the only light I use for this because I can't afford actual like good camera lights. So yeah, I just have like a lamp. So I just laid the lamp on the floor. And so the lighting wasn't the best. You could kind of tell there was some grainy stuff going around my head, but you know what? That's fine. That's fine. As long as it entertains you, the people. That was such a bad Bane impression. One of these days, like, I can do a Bane impression. I swear. But yeah, let's get into This Week in Movie News. I don't have a lot to talk about. In terms of most of the news, all I can say about a good majority of it, Good Omens is a good show. Check it out on Amazon Prime. Came out 2019. I watched it. I thought it was pretty solid. It's David Tennant, who plays like one of the doctors in Doctor Who, Purple Man, and Jessica Jones. Fantastic actor, and I forget the name of the other guy who stars in it, but I think it's not Michael. It's like Sheenan or something. Michael Sheen, maybe? I have no idea, but he's been in some stuff, and I've heard he's a good actor. The main things I really want to talk about with this, though, is, first off, I forgot a couple of trailers. I forgot that some trailers came out this week that I just completely missed. There was 3 trailers that I found after I edited this all together. There was another trailer for Hotel Transylvania 3, or 4, Transformia, or whatever. I don't know. I've only seen the first, and I really only care about the first. But we got our first trailer for Mortal Kombat Battle of the Realms, which is, I guess, a sequel to Scorpion's Revenge, which is like an animated rated R movie, which I thought was really, really fun. So I'm looking forward to that. And then there's a Johnny Test reboot coming out on Netflix that got a trailer, and I'm a little mixed on it. I watched someone's reaction, and he thought like the animation looked great, and when he was describing it and actually comparing and contrasting, I understood, but it just threw me off because the animation style for it is completely different from the other Johnny Test show. But when you compare and contrast, I think in my head the original Johnny Test looked better than it is. It's very cheap Flash animation. I think what threw me off about this reboot is I'm someone who's a fan of thick character outlines. I like how that looks. I don't like the thin, and I think the way they do it is it's a thin outline, but then it's like a darker shade of the color of the character. So it's not just black. It's like Johnny Test is like he has skin that's like my shade of skin. so they just make it a little tanner. And that style doesn't vibe with me quite as much, but when you see stuff in action, definitely looks like it has a higher budget. I might check it out. I was a big Johnny Test kid growing up. I made a reference to it a few weeks ago when I was talking about, I don't even remember what I was talking about. It was like politics or something, and I talked about American Idiot by Green Day, and then just briefly mentioned Johnny Test in there. But I grew up watching Johnny Test. That's one of my childhood shows. I think I'm going to watch this. But on to the news I actually talked about. The big stuff, I want to talk about the Spider-Man Lego sets. Go through each of them, and I actually have some graphics loaded up for that. And I want to talk about the other 3 trailers that I actually talked about in the segment, and then those last 3 stories, because, oh boy, that is some rough stuff. But before we get to the rough stuff, let's have some fun. Here are some of the Lego sets. If you're listening, that's unfortunate. Go check us out on YouTube. You will get extended versions of the This Week in Movie News segment, which I am now starting to edit down because I'm actually adding like skits and whatnot to the beginning, which I'm now realizing is not good for listening to. So go check us out on like Instagram to watch the full segment, or check us out on YouTube. If you are watching on YouTube or Rumble or whatever, we have the graphic pulled up here. So the first one, this is the best quality photo I could find of this. This is the one that's being spread around the least. It is Spider-Man versus Mysterio's drone attack. So it seems like Mysterio in some way or form might be coming back, even though I think it's been confirmed that Jake Gyllenhaal isn't coming back to the movie. So this might be a strictly mask-based Mysterio, or maybe it is a replica, or someone is taking the Mysterio mantle from Jake Gyllenhaal. But it looks fun. It's a kid's set. There's not a lot to really say. Here's like a better quality image where you just get to see all the pieces in play. So there's a Mysterio drone. There's really nothing to write home about with this one. You get Spider-Man in his classic black suit from No Way Home, or what's it called? Far From Home. The naming schemes of these Spider-Man movies confuse me. But here's the next one. This one is a bit more interesting. It is Spider-Man's drone duel. So it seems like Spider-Man will have a drone in this. And I guess I should mention now, you get a better look at the new suit that Spider-Man's wearing, which looks like a combination between the Iron Spider and his like black suit. But you get to check out like this new costume. Let me get a better quality image. It's Spider-Man's wearing a black and gold suit, which it looks cool. I still prefer the classic red and blue, and even like the black and blue. But black and gold go together really well. The drone looks interesting. It looks like it's his, and he's fighting the Vulture, who, may I say, has a really cool looking headpiece. I have the Lego set with the Vulture from Homecoming, and it was just one piece, and it was basically just a reprinted Iron Man helmet, which looked alright, but this looks a lot better. And it's got like giant turbines. It looks neat, but the big one comes with this set, which is at the Sanctum Sanctorum, for those listening. And you got Spider-Man in his new suit that's on all the boxes. Mary Jane with, I think that's like a different hairpiece than from what they used to use. Doctor Strange and Wong. And what's interesting, let's just get like this picture up. What's interesting is, it looks like we have like a two-way mirror type thing here in the back. But first off, the Wong costume looks pretty rad. That was one of the things that stood out. But then let's look at this thing. And I know I'm saying this thing. No one can tell what I'm talking about. But this thing, the green thing in this left corner, it's got like these plant pieces, so it's a little misleading with that, where you could try to say it's maybe like a wild plant or something. But it looks a bit like it's got pincers, it's got these glowing green eyes. I've heard some people say that that could be Scorpion. And if it is, it's kind of a lame design for him. But that would also confirm that Matt Gargan is in fact coming back. Ooh, excuse me. He's in fact coming back to the movie, and he's going to actually turn into the Scorpion this time around, which will be interesting. Now, Lego sets are notorious for not accurately depicting scenes from movies, so it could very well be that these aren't going to happen. They are known for combining different movies into a single set. They're known for just flat out depicting finale scenes and like big climaxes completely wrong. But a good way to speculate about what's going to happen in an upcoming Marvel movie, Star Wars movie, is look at the Lego sets that come out. Because there's usually at least one or two things that the public doesn't know about. There was like the Shang-Chi stuff that revealed the dragon before the trailer last week revealed the dragon. So stuff like that where you get a better idea of how the movie's going to feel. Honestly, like the Eternals Lego sets that came out, or that were leaked about a month or two back, those made me more interested in the movie than anything else, because it revealed like a weirder, stranger looking movie with the design of the ship, the design of the creatures in Lego form made me go, this could actually be interesting. Nothing else made me interested in it. So it's a good indication to look at the Lego sets, because they can give you a better idea of what the movie's going to look like. And based on those Lego sets, they look fine. The Scorpion design, if that is Scorpion, leaves a little to be desired, to say the very least. But I'll probably still see it. I mean, Spider-Man's probably my favorite superhero. So I'm a big Spider-Man fanboy. So I'll see it. I'm not entirely super excited. I haven't been floored by the other two MCU's outings with Spider-Man, so I hope this is good. But yeah, I just wanted to show off those sets because I did kind of fly through them really quick. I just wanted to show those off really, really fast. The next stuff, the 3 trailers. I grew up on Big Red, the Big Red Dog, Clifford the Big Red Dog, which it took me about 5 minutes to say that correctly for whatever reason. But yeah, the trailer looks fine. It seems like it's going to be a prequel based off of Clifford lore. If you watched the show or read the books, I watched the cartoons as a kid. Clifford is brought to an island because he grew too big for the city, and I think her name was Elizabeth or Mary Elizabeth, had to bring Clifford over to this island so he wouldn't wreck shop in New York. And then that's where he meets people like T-Bone and Cleo, and then all the people who don't matter. So this seems like it'll be a prequel. The dog looks solid. I think the CG in the trailer looks fine for what it was. So I hope this isn't just like a big dumb baby movie, and I hope they treat it with respect. Like with any project you're gonna do with a pre-existing character, I want you to treat it with respect regardless of what it is. If it is big dumb baby show like Clifford the Big Red Dog, anything from that to like the Evil Dead or Marvel or DC, like I want you to treat the source material with respect, because that is what you're adapting, and there is a fan base, there is people who like that, who love it, for whatever reason. So I hope they treat it with respect. I hope they make it good and palatable for people who grew up with this, because part of what you want to do when you do something like this, you want to make Clifford for a new generation of kids. So people like, I have a little brother who is, I think, 10. I'm very bad with ages and names and birthdays, but he's like 10 or 11. So he's younger. Probably a bit too old for Clifford, but he didn't grow up on Clifford. So maybe, people like him, people younger than him, people like 6, 7, kids like that. So you're making it for a new generation, but I think you also have to focus on, hey, there are people who are now, 20, 25, who grew up watching this show as a kid, who love this show, or at least hold it in a special place in their hearts. So we got to make it for them too, to show, hey, we respect the source material, and we're going to try to appeal it a little bit towards them too. So make it a bit more, not adult, but like, make it have themes that people can identify with, and I kind of lost my train of thought there, but make it to where it's palatable for all age groups. And that's really what you should shoot for when you make PG and PG-13 stuff, is make it palatable for everyone. Make it for everyone. And that's where stuff like Lion King thrives. Stuff like Gravity Falls thrives, is where they make it for the kids, but they apply themes, they apply amazing animation, good jokes, good characters to make it feel universal. And I hope they do it with that. But then we also had the Sopranos prequel film. I mentioned last week. I started watching The Sopranos 2 weeks ago. I just started season 3 yesterday. I'm loving it. It genuinely might be in my top 5 shows ever, and I'm not even halfway done with the show. It's just that good. I love Tony. Tony is the best character in the show. The character I identify the most with. And I hope they do this right. It looks like they probably will. I think it's being written by the guy who created the show, if I remember right. So it looks good. I mean, it basically. So The Sopranos was hey, we're gonna take all the smaller guys from like Goodfellas, Godfather, all like the smaller New Jersey mobster types, and we're just gonna put them in this show. This movie looks like they're pulling the big straws. I mean, you got John Bernthal in it. I forget the main guy's name who's gonna end up playing Chris's father. But you got Ray Liotta's gonna be in it, which I'm becoming a big fan of Ray Liotta the more I watch of him. So I can't wait for that. I can't wait to see how they tie everything in. I think the guy who plays a younger Silvio Dante, I think he's a good actor. So I'm excited for this. I can't wait to see what they do. This comes out later this year, and the more I watch The Sopranos, the more I'm like, this is becoming my most anticipated movie of the year. So I hope it's good. And then Don't Breathe. I haven't seen the first, but I think if I heard right, he's like the main antagonist is a blind veteran, I think, who keeps girls in his basement. So that's not good. So I guess they're gonna try to portray him in a more sympathetic, fatherly light. It might even be a prequel. Who knows? But it looks fun. I've been meaning to check out the first. I just haven't been able to find it anywhere. But yeah. Got to take a breath real quick. It is so hard to talk by myself. Like, I love it when I have guests because I can just go pass it off to them, let them talk a little bit, and I can just go, yeah. I have a chance to catch my breath and like collect what I want to say. Doing this by myself, especially the week after doing it with a guest, is very hard to just talk. And I become a lot more self-aware of the deep breaths I take. And before we move on to the next part, I just want to mention, in my personal life, I have started working on another podcast, a smaller one, but, well, I say smaller. This thing is tiny. They're bigger than me, but it's like a financial podcast. They talk about, they advise people on their finances. And one of the things I have to do is go in and make sure it sounds good and edit out any deep breath ins. So any like or any like mouth noises where it's like, and I'm sorry if that annoys you people, but you guys, but yeah, I gotta edit that. So now I've become just hyper aware of how much I do it. So that makes recording these really fun. But yeah, so the three final things are just crazy. And I think when my idea when I started doing this segment was I just want to talk about like fun movie news that comes out, but in reality, not a lot of movie news comes out every week, as you can tell with this week. Yeah, there was some stuff that came out, but it wasn't stuff that was like in depth to talk about. Like, yeah, Good Omens got a season 2. Good for them. I like the show. But there's nothing to really go off of after that. Like, oh, let's speculate about what they could do for season 2. I don't know. I haven't read the book. I don't know where the crap they could go. But so I just I included the Allison Mack stuff last week because I was like, this is just a crazy piece of news, And then I included the stuff about John Cena because I thought that was hilariously ridiculous. So, it's gotten more and more like, let's just add some like strictly celebrity stuff, I guess, but not every time a celebrity gets canceled or they say they're just kind of the big like criminal cases or like the big just, are you kidding me stuff. So, there was 3 of them this week. Allison Mack got sentenced for 3 years in prison, which, in my opinion, is a little light. I get she helped with the prosecutor to take the Knicks film guy away, but I would at the very least say like at least 10 years. I think the max was 20. But 3 years seems a little light, especially for how high up she was in the organization. The Britney Spears stuff kind of hit me with like a freaking train. It hit me like a train, and I'm sorry if you just heard voices. My family is home, and they're yelling at each other in the house. So Britney Spears, and I think I may have gotten some details wrong because I've just been listening to all different angles with this. But Britney Spears has been in a 13-year conservatorship with her father, which basically means, at least from what I've picked up, I'm going to say this. I am no legal expert. I am just I'm basically just regurgitating what I've heard elsewhere. But Britney Spears has been in a conservatorship where her father basically is kind of like, I guess, her legal caretaker, her legal guardian, but that also means that he owns her estate. So he basically gets paid, like gets all the proceeds from her album sales, music sales, concert tickets or whatever, and she gets none of it because she is essentially, I guess the way I view it, or at least the way it seems like it's been explained to me, is when you're under 18, you're under the guardianship of your parents. So it's very hard for you to own stuff of your own, because you are technically under them. So like your parents pay your insurance and that kind of stuff because you're still technically like under them, or they're your caretaker. So I guess a conservatorship, I might be wrong on this. I'm not going to like say this is what it is. But the way it seems like is it's basically just you become the legal parent for this person and they legally become dependent on the conservator or the guardian. So it seems like that's what her father did because at the very least, I think the reason this happened was because there was what was it? She had like a meltdown or something in public because they were trying to take her daughter away. I think she was maybe a divorce, and she was being dragged through the media, and that kind of caused to like an angry outburst. And so I think her father swooped in and said, "I don't think she's mentally well. I think I should sign her up on a conservatorship." So him, I think her family, they're like all benefiting from this. He's like the sole conservator, basically leeching money off of her. And at the very least, it seems like slavery. Now, if you want to present the counter argument, because the other thing is, we don't know all the details. She could be, she could have been evaluated by a psychiatrist and like labeled, hey, she is mentally unwell. Maybe like we need to actually do this. And if that's the case, well, okay. But she seems to be a functioning human being, relatively normal. And there's no way a 39-year-old woman should be owned by her father unless she could not operate in the real world. So this is just a really sketch situation. I heard some reports that California maybe knew something and didn't really investigate it. And she actually put in a challenge, tried to get out of the conservatorship, and the judge just flat out denied it. So there's some sketchy stuff. There's some sketchy stuff going on, but you know, it's very unfortunate, I think, especially if like she is of sound mind, because she can't leave this. So the hashtag Free Britney is going out, and props to everyone who are like championing her on Twitter. I don't have a Twitter because I think Twitter is a cesspool, but that's something else. But yeah, I mean, props to them. I hope like she gets out of this, because this is just not good at all. Yeah. That's very depressing. Even more depressing news, Bill Cosby got out of prison. And this one, the more I learn, the more just like confused I get. Like with Britney, it's kind of like, yeah, you can say there's stuff we don't know, and say maybe there's this and this, but also like she's been evaluated every like 4 months, I think, by a psychiatrist. So either their treatments aren't working or they're being paid off to keep her in this. You can pretty almost like 85-90% definitively say like this is probably not a good thing. Bill Cosby has just been the most confusing effing thing for me. Because on one hand, he was arrested 2015, so all throughout my high school life, it was just a given that Cosby was, how do I put this delicately? He didn't like the word no. It was pretty much a given that he slipped something in his pudding pops and, have his way with women. It was just kind of a given because we were kids. None of us really knew any details. It was just, oh yeah, he got arrested, and he was found guilty. But now it's come out. I think he went on appeal. I might have gotten some stuff wrong in the report because I've heard so much other crap, but it all boils down to the prosecutor did something sketchy. I've heard that he added new evidence. I've heard that they offered him a plea deal, where they would sentence him without prejudice, and then this guy came in and tried to sentence him with prejudice after he accepted the plea deal, which, that conflicts there and basically makes both of them fall apart. But I will say this, I think my favorite breakdown of this was by a lawyer named Viva Fry, Viva Fr, I think it's EI, I think it's EI, but he's like a really good YouTube lawyer, and he broke this down, and the way he presented it, it was like, well, shoot. So there was officially like zero evidence against Cosby, so he wouldn't really get put away if it was just based off of the evidence. And so now it's coming out, he's got out of prison. No one in the media is even trying to interview him. Everyone's refusing to, trying to shut down any interview with him, which makes things even more sketchy, because it's like, it's entirely impossible now to convict him without prejudice, because the minute he got arrested, the prosecutor had it in his mind that he was guilty, so he was going to do anything it took to put him in prison, regardless of the ethics of it. The media determined he was guilty without any evidence, without the court sentencing him or convicting him or anything. And, I mean, Cosby's like a prime example of, regardless of if he's innocent or not, even if he's guilty, this shouldn't have happened. And I'm still like, he's still sketchy to me. I don't know the full details of it, but some of the details I have heard, I'm like, he's most likely guilty, and you just got a guilty man. Most likely he was guilty, and you most likely got a guilty man off because you were you were being stupid. you got it in your mind that he was guilty. You ahead of time already determined he was guilty, so you fit anything you could into that hole, regardless of if it worked or not. And that ended up corrupting the legal process and got him out of prison. And now the media refuses to interview him because, like, I think Hollywood Reporter said, we don't want to give him a platform. And I'm like, okay, but also, it's not about giving him a platform. It's about trying your best to expose the truth. And if you decide to just shut down lanes that will lead you to the truth, that makes you bad journalists. As a journalist, you should accept any opportunity to get anyone who knows anything about big cases, big stories on your platform so you can expose the truth regardless of what it is. And the fact that people are so scared to put them on makes this thing look really sketchy, because on one hand you can view it as they either know / think he's innocent, but they want to run with the fact that he's still guilty, or he's guilty and there's nothing to talk about. So there's now just muddier and muddier water the longer he's been out of prison, and that makes things really sketchy. It's such a confusing situation, because now we don't know. It's just muddy water because this guy screwed up. This guy made a mistake, and decided to turn back on a plea deal and be sketchy in the courtroom. And I mean, I think this reflects on just the broader culture of, if you're guilty, you're guilty. If someone accuses you, that's it. And it's like, you gotta have evidence. You got to go through the process. And now we have I think it was the court of public opinion is what I've heard it's called, where regardless of if the court decides you guilty or not, you're already deemed guilty in public. And that's not how we should operate as a culture, as a society. We should make determinations based off of evidence rather than just, gut feelings or knee-jerk reactions. And unfortunately, we have journalists now who in turn influence popular opinion, popular culture, who just issue knee-jerk reactions and push those reactions as fact. And then anytime any evidence comes out that contradicts it, they just ignore it. And that's unfortunate, because people now have already made up their minds about something when the truth could be something completely different. And that is what this is representative of. Because now we'll never know the truth. We'll never know if Cosby did this or not. He adamantly denies it. His wife is loyally stuck by him. But because the actual trial never actually happened legitimately, arguably this situation was treated wrongly. I was going to say Cosby was treated poorly, but, he still could have gotten what he deserved. Who knows? But the point is, we'll never know anymore. We'll never know if he's actually guilty. We'll never see any evidence brought forth, because this prosecutor decided to be an idiot and prosecute with prejudice. And that is not how the legal system should work. That's not how public opinion should work. And it's just an unfortunate and frankly bizarre situation that just completely got me off guard. Yeah. That was a little heavy. Now let's talk about Independence Day. Yeah. So I don't have a lot to say about it. I watched it this morning. There are people who really love this movie. I think my dad absolutely loves this movie. Most people who grew up in the 80s and 90s, even though this came out in 96, people love this movie a lot. It definitely stirs up some patriotic emotions, especially you're watching it a lot of the time. I really just wanted to be like, America. America, land of opportunity, land of the free. Let's go kick some ETA. But that's the primary emotion driving this movie forward. Is it relies on your blatant American patriotism a lot in order to get invested in what's happening. They present it like it's a world threat, and they only have maybe 2 minutes of the rest of the world fighting aliens. You have like a brief scene where I think it's in Africa. I'm not entirely sure, but a group of indigenous children running out of the brush and like holding up their spears and walking canes in front of a crashed alien ship, and then it cuts to Egypt and the Egyptians there celebrating, and then it cuts to Australia and you just have the alien ship crashed on Sydney. But the rest of the movie takes place strictly in America or in space. So it heavily relies on your patriotism. And so I would actually be curious. I want to see what like people who aren't Americans think about this movie. Do they think it's still fun popcorn, or are they just like uninterested in like, oh, this is just an American movie? I don't care. Yeah. That would be a very interesting thing to look up, and unfortunately I do not have a big enough audience to just go, tell me what you guys think. Maybe if I have like 1,000 people watching or whatever, maybe, but I would be curious to figure that out. But the other thing this movie heavily relies on is the action and the charisma of actors, of its actors. Because I noticed, I was gonna say, like, coming out of it, I was like, I don't know if I cared about the characters. I was like, I like him, and I came very close to saying, like, the president was a good character, and Will Smith's character was a good character, but then thinking back about it, I was like, I don't think any of these characters go through any character arcs at all. I think they just, like, go along for the ride. The most Will Smith's character does is get married to his stripper girlfriend. The most Jeff Goldblum does is find out the weakness of the aliens and maybe accept his Jewish heritage. I'm not entirely sure on that one. And then the president gives a rousing speech and decides to fight on the sidelines with all of the soldiers. So, they don't really go through character arcs. It completely relies on the actors and how much the audience likes them and how much the audience enjoys the spectacle of things. And I will say, I kind of bought it. I mean, if you look at the lineup of actors in this, you got Will Smith, Jeff Goldblum, Bill Pullman, Judd Hirsch, and Randy Quaid off the top of my head. All 5 of those guys, I think, are some of the most charismatic and likable actors in Hollywood. They give off different vibes, but all their vibes they give off make you just instantly go, I like him. I like that guy. So they did good job casting here, because it was like, if it wasn't Will Smith, if it was like Chris Rock, I'd go, wait, okay, not to knock on Chris Rock. Chris Rock is funny. He seems like a good guy, but when you picture him in that Will Smith role, you would go, he's fine, I guess. The only person who could probably, actually no, I can't think of anyone who could pull off the Will Smith role. Will Smith has to be in that role. If it's not Will Smith, that role doesn't work. You don't care about that character because he's one-dimensional. You only care about it because it's Will Smith. Same with Jeff Goldblum. Find me somebody who could replace Jeff Goldblum in this role, because I can't picture anyone. There's no one who could fit that Jeff Goldblum role. It has to be Jeff Goldblum. Same with Judd Hirst. Same with Randy Quaid. Same with Bill Pullman. Those roles are specifically designed for those actors. The only actor missing from this that I think would turn up the likability of the overall ensemble, they should have gotten Samuel L. Jackson in here, because that would have been, I was going to say a trifecta, but that would be like the complete circle, the whole enchilada. That would make for one of the best ensemble casts. If you got Samuel L. Jackson, because he is a very likable actor. But yeah, you just have to buy the charisma of the actors and then the fun action, and it works. On top of that, it has those classic, iconic shots and lines that make you buy into it. You have the shot of the alien spaceship just blowing up the White House, blowing up, I want to say it was either the Empire State Building or the Chrysler Building. I couldn't tell because I can't remember off the top of my head the difference between the two. But you also have them blowing up the Capitol. You have Will Smith punching the alien and then, smoking a cigar on the alien spaceship. You also have him and Jeff Goldblum walking across the sand smoking cigars. You have Welcome to Earth. Bah! You have the freaking... I included the speech in the This Week in Movie News segment. You have the speech that Bill Pullman's the president gives, where he's like, "We will not go quietly into that good night. We will not go without a fight." I don't remember the rest of it. "Today we celebrate our Independence Day." And then you have Randy Quaid's line right before he kamikazes the spaceship, where he's just like, "Hello, hello boys, I'm back." It's all a spectacle, fun lines, fun imagery. But one thing that I really liked about this is they don't give the people, the Earthlings, any victories. It's just one defeat after another. The aliens show up and they go, "Well, what's happening here?" The aliens, they find out the aliens are about to destroy them. They run. There goes the White House. There goes the Capitol. Once again, playing at the heartstrings of the patriotism. And then their next form of attack is, all right, we're going to send the Air Force after them. Will Smith takes his squad up and launches missiles. They fail. All the squad dies except Will Smith. They get a small little win with the alien. He drags the alien back. They bring it to Area 51. They start experimenting on it. The alien wakes up and kills all the scientists. And then they are at a loss again. Then they found out about the virus. They test it out. At first, it doesn't look like it'll work. And then finally, when you see the missile hit the side of the spaceship, that's when stuff goes their way. And that's like 2 hours into the movie. Like, this, first off, this movie is incredibly long. It is 2.5 hours long. So, after almost 2 hours of just the Earthlings trying to fight back and not succeeding, the First Lady dies. Stuff like that, where it's just, they're being beaten down so much. That also helps buy into the characters. The characters are so charismatic and likable, but they're constantly being beat down the entire movie, that when they finally get the first win of just poof, like that becomes immensely satisfying. Makes you like want to celebrate with them, especially after the great Independence Day speech. And it makes you just really root for these characters. It feels like a great payoff, even though it's something so small. Because now you go, there's a chance. There's a chance we can win this. And I thought that worked really well. Man, excuse me. I get like I said, I get very self-conscious about all of the little noises I make. Shoot, what else was I gonna say? Oh, at the beginning, when the aliens first show up, one of my favorite shots, which is not like used for any iconicity or anything, I really like the shot of the satellite floating in space, and then the camera kind of pans, follows the satellite, and it reveals the massive alien ship, and you can just see the satellite, which satellites are pretty freaking big. Usually, they're usually like hold on, let's do some quick research, shall we? Average satellite size. So the average satellite size. Ah, dang it! I thought it was just gonna pop up. Let's go to this. So the average satellite size. Where's the size? Okay, so the GOI-1 imaging satellite weighed 1,955 kilograms. I guess that's not like in terms of, but it looks like the lightest was about 720 kilograms, so they're very heavy. I was looking for more size, but they are very big. They are very heavy. And to watch this massive satellite suddenly just grow smaller and smaller in comparison to this massive spaceship, and it's barely a dot, and you see this tiny explosion as it hits the spaceship. That is a great way to establish how menacing these aliens look. Where, that you look at something that, compared to us Earthlings, is pretty big. And to watch it just basically be a speck in comparison to this massive alien ship, that's a great way to just establish, oh, these guys are serious. These guys mean business. Although, I will say, I feel like it contradicts a little bit, because the huge plot point was these alien spaceships are using our satellites to communicate with each other. And I wouldn't say it's a plot hole, but I would say it made me think, well, they destroyed a satellite earlier in the movie. Who's to say that the giant mothership is just sitting in orbit and these satellites are just constantly hitting it? And so it would make it harder for the aliens to communicate if the mothership is at the very least just sitting that close to Earth and maybe interfering with them. But, maybe that's just my brain overthinking the whole thing. And maybe that, that's something they thought about. But yeah, it made me think, I guess. But speaking of those alien spaceships and the mothership and now all that, I thought the effects looked fine, like great. The CGI looked fine. It definitely aged a little bit, but what am I talking about? The practical effects. The practical effects in this are pretty solid. Not as good as like Star Wars or something, but whenever they're in practical environments with the aliens and on the spaceships, it looks really good. And I think that adds to the charm. I was actually watching a review right before I started doing this of Tomorrow War, which came out this weekend. Teaser for the release radar segment. But he was talking about comparing this to Independence Day, and he said, at the very least with Independence Day, it's a stupid movie, but it has a charm to it. And I definitely agree. Independence Day has a lot of charm, whether it's the very convincing practical effects or the sound stages or the charismatic actors or the fun dialogue or just the iconic imagery. It has a certain charm to it. It has a certain fun to it. And I think that's what helps this movie stand the test of time, what makes people love it, aside from the, blatant patriotism, where just by calling itself Independence Day and filling it with so much inspiration and, this is our Independence Day, that has helped this movie stand the test of time. Just by calling itself Independence Day, it is basically just rooted into the minds of the American people and made Americans just like, anytime Independence Day comes around for us, just like want to watch the movie and just America. Yeah. I was going to say sing Amazing Grace. I can't remember our national anthem. you know, ba-da-dum, bum, 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 through the perilous night, oh, so grandly, that, my mind is completely blank right now. But yeah, it infuses into our culture just by calling it an Independence Day, and then puts in imagery of the White House being blown up, the Capitol being blown up, New York City, Los Angeles being attacked, having American Marines and Air Force members fighting off the aliens. It has such potent American imagery in it that is the sole reason this movie stands the test of time. You take that out of it, even with the very charismatic cast. If you just called it like, I don't know, call it something just like Alien Invasion, and take out all the American imagery, and it's just about a ragtag group of people fighting back against aliens, I don't think this movie would be as popular. Even with Will Smith, even with Jeff Goldblum, even with Randy Quaid, even with Bill Pullman, I don't think this movie would be as popular because there isn't all that American pride just kind of just intertwined in it. And I know some people say that's a bad thing. I think it's perfectly fine to like your country. I think it's perfectly fine to, have some national pride. And that's what Independence Day is about. Mexico has its own Independence Day, and that's where they celebrate being Mexico. I'm pretty sure every country has some sort of Independence Day or some sort of day that's just dedicated to celebrating the culture, the country they live in. I think that's perfectly fine. Because most of the time, especially when you get older, you choose where you live. And even if you're born there, it's fine to just be like, I'm glad I was born here. I like this country. So yeah, I think this is a fine movie. It's fun. If it wasn't for the cast, and if it wasn't for just the fun dialogue, the fun spectacle, I probably wouldn't have come away from this being positive, because I started it and I thought I was not gonna like it. I saw the runtime. I said, this thing is 2.5 hours long. Oh boy, I'm in for a freaking ride. And maybe it helps because I got a notification from my Chick-fil-A app saying I had a free chicken biscuit expiring today. So I had to leave in the middle of the movie to go get my Chick-fil-A chicken biscuit. So maybe that broke up some action, allowed it to kind of be more palatable. But even when watching it, I'm someone who habitually, if I have the remote in my hand, if I'm sitting here with the remote in my hand, I'm habitually just watching going, all right, how much longer we got? All right, cool. How much longer do we got? Like, I just habitually do that. It's not, I think I'm just naturally impatient. I'm naturally just antsy. It's very hard for me to sit down and watch a movie. So usually when I say a movie grabs my attention and sits me there, if it makes me put my phone down, that is a sign of a good movie. That's usually like a compliment from me. If it makes me actually sit down and just go, oh crap. Because if I sit on my bed, this bed right here, my TV's right there. I sit on my bed to watch movies. Usually I get antsy regardless of what kind of movie it is. I either constantly check the time, or I want to check my phone, see what's going on Instagram, or like, oh shoot, my phone buzzed, or come over here and just decide to kind of casually work on something while I watch something. If a movie grabs my attention, that's something good. And I'm not saying that because Independence Day completely grabbed my attention, because I did take a break to go get a chicken biscuit. I did check my phone a little bit. I did check the time. But every time I checked the time, like 10 minutes had gone by and it felt like 5. So it is a very well-paced movie, in my opinion. I didn't feel bored, ever. And I thought it was fun. I give it a 7 out of 10. Paper-thin characters, one-dimensional characters. Definitely nothing in terms of themes or stories. But for what it is, and I think for what it knew it was, it worked perfectly fine. I know certain people, Doug Walker, nostalgia critic, don't like this movie. And I don't say that to call him out. I know people have their problems with him. I used to watch him a lot as a kid. That's where I watched his review, and he said like he hated Independence Day. I don't really understand it all that much, but hey, all love to him. But I know he's just a very easy punching bag. But don't say that to be hateful or anything. Just kind of poking fun, I guess. That's really all I have to say about it. I'm surprised I talked about it for as long as I did. But it is crazy how just like big it is. It's 25 years later. People are still watching it. People are still talking about it. And it stands the test of time. And I think it's because of the raw American patriotism and the very charismatic, fun cast. And I think I've said that multiple times throughout this podcast episode. But yeah, that'll be it for me today. No reason to stretch it out. So we'll wrap up with the release radar. I actually have some graphics for that as well. It's just the posters. Look, it's just the posters, but you know what? It's something. I think eventually I want to get like an actual graphic design artist or something to come in and actually make me some graphics. But because I suck at it and I had very little time this morning to get it set up, this is all we got. So first we have America the Motion Picture, which came out on Thursday. It is made by the same guys who did Archer. I guess it says Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Expendables, Magic Mike. So a great group of people working together. That really sets the tone of what this is going to be. It seems like it's going to be like an alt future, fun, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a fun, just goofy adult comedy, that from the trailers, it looks like it'll have the same tone as Archer. It'll be on Netflix, if you want to check it out there. Next we have The Tomorrow War, starring Chris Pratt and Yvonne golly, I cannot remember, Strakovsky or something. I think both of these people are very charismatic actors. It seems like a fun movie. I've shown you trailers from it in the past where basically these people from our days have to go into the future to fight aliens. So very Independence Day-esque. So if Independence Day is what you're craving, hey, check this out. Next, we have Fear Street Part 1, I want to say 1994. So this is the first part in a 3-part trilogy. I could only find the poster for the entire trilogy. But they'll be releasing these periodically throughout July, where basically these are just a series of slasher movies that will build up lore and keep flashing back to the past to kind of build up this world, this lore around these killers or something like that. But so the first one will take place in either the 80s or 90s, and they'll go back to like the 50s, I think, and they'll go back to 1864. So they're gonna keep going back and basically further expand this slasher, and it seems fun. It's gotten some really like solid reviews from it, from critics. So this seems like one that will be super fun. It will be on Netflix. I also forgot to mention The Tomorrow War will also be on Amazon Prime. Next, we got The Forever Purge. Or every time I read that, I just think of the country guy from the trailer going, The Forever Purge! But it'll be out on in theaters by the time this comes out. If you like the Purge movies, I'm sure you'll enjoy this. I've seen some reviews. People don't look at this favorably too much, but hey, if it's your cup of tea, it's your cup of tea. I guess just know going into it, some of the critics have said, like, there's just very blatant political stuff in there that they try to juggle. Like, it's not just one theme that they try to develop. It's multiple different hot topic issues that they just juggle the entire time and keep dropping the ball and trying to pick it up and trying to juggle it. It seems, I've heard it's very unfocused, but hey, if you enjoy Southern-based horror, I guess, action stuff, I'm sure this will tickle your fancy. But yeah, and then lastly, we have Boss Baby 2, Family Business. Yeah, it's Boss Baby 2. It's in theaters right now. It is also on Peacock Premium, where I think it's like $5 a month or something. Peacock's free. I would highly recommend at the very least getting Peacock, the free version, because you do get some good stuff with that. But Peacock Premium basically just offers a little bit more, and including Boss Baby 2. So if you liked the first Boss Baby, I've heard this one is actually better than it. So if you want to give it a try, test your sanity. Go for it. I'll probably only check out Tomorrow War. That's actually something I'm interested in. And then I'll check out Fear Street. I've become a big slasher fan ever since watching Scream. Scream is one of my all-time favorite horror movies. Probably in my top 50, top 25 favorite movies ever made. Like, I really liked it. So this seems to be kind of in the same vein of that. I've heard some people compare it to Scream, so I think I'll enjoy it. And then America the Motion Picture. I've seen some episodes of Archer. I like it, and I think if it keeps that style of comedy, that kind of tone, I think it'll be good. At the very least, it'll be a fun watch. Hopefully it kind of doesn't do what modern media projects about America do, where they try to just undermine any love in the country at all. Hopefully it'll at the very least just go, hey, we're just having fun, because that's the kind of movie that could easily just slip into, oh, America sucks. America sucks. You should hate yourself for even liking living in this country. That kind of downer attitude. Hopefully it's more just, hey, what if the founding fathers existed in like a steampunk era where they just had these, like, I don't know, mythical powers? Because that sounds like it'll be fun. So I can't wait to check those out. And I haven't seen any of the Purge movies. I haven't seen the first Boss Baby movie. So, when I inevitably get around to those, because I am a completionist person who has to be in the conversation about everything. So I will watch every Purge movie eventually. I will watch Boss Baby 1 and 2 eventually, because I gotta watch all the DreamWorks movies. I'm someone who compulsively just, like, if it's a big franchise, I want to watch it. And then if it's a big studio, I want to watch it. So, like, my goals right now, I want to watch every A24 movie, which I looked it up. There's a lot. But eventually I want to get around to that. I want to get around to, like, the Purge stuff. I want to get around to Fast and Furious. It's stuff that, if it's big, I want to be in the conversation of it, and at the very least bring new eyes to it, because a lot of modern franchises I don't have a lot of nostalgic attachment to. I'm not a part of any fandom for it. So I like kind of taking the approach of having new, fresh eyes coming into something that's long-running, long-beloved, and just give my thoughts, or at the very least have my thoughts on them. I'm also someone who compulsively makes lists. So at some points, I will do podcast episodes where I either list stuff or give you a list. Like at the end of this year, I will guarantee you I will make a top 10 and best and worst movies that came out this year. I've seen 71 movies that have come out this year so far, which not to brag or anything, because there are critics that I follow who have seen far more. There's a guy named Austin Burke, who is a good dude, a good movie reviewer. I respect him a lot. The man has seen over 100, last I checked was like 144 movies that came out this year. That man is on his grind. He saw, I think, 241 movies last year. And I'm just like, my goal is to get half that. So if I get half that, I'm fine. I'm set. But yeah, at the end of this year, I will definitely put out a podcast episode where I rank the top 10 worst and top 10 best movies that come out this year. I don't know. I might list all of them, depending on how much I've watched and how much I think it'll take. I might just do an entire episode where I just list every movie I've seen this year. I don't know. I might not want to put you through that. But if you are curious in how I would rank certain stuff, the movies that came out this year, I have a Letterboxd account. Follow me. I think it's just Garrett Inman. plug there for no reason. But I occasionally review movies, I rate movies, and I just have massive rankings. So I have a list for every year since I've been born. So 2000 to now, I have a list of every movie I've seen from those specific years, ranked. I have like the MCU ranked. So just if you want to see where I would put the MCU, Christopher Nolan, Martin Scorsese, stuff like that. If that's something that at all interests you, Get Letterboxd is basically just, I guess, social media, but for movie critics, or people who just like to talk about movies. But yeah, with that little plug out of the way, let's wrap it up with my weekly recommendation, and it is, bah, dang it, hold on, it's hard to do this when you're doing it by yourself. Bah, there we go. It's The Sandlot. I actually didn't watch it this week. I watched Chris Stuckman's video where he was talking about his nostalgic attachment to it, and it just, like, in the back of my mind, just it re-sparked a desire to rewatch this. And we have it on DVD around here somewhere. But this was one of my childhood, like, favorite movies. And because I couldn't find the DVD, I was actually going to talk about it a couple weeks back when I talked about Weekend at Bernie's. I wanted to talk about a movie that just represented summer. And for me, The Sandlot represents summer. But I couldn't find it, so I got stuck with Weekend at Bernie's. But it was a good movie. But this is like a S tier movie. I don't even know, like, the quality of it. I just automatically, this is one of the best movies. It inspires this feeling of nostalgia. I never grew up in the 80s, which is when this movie came out, I think. And I never grew up in the 60s. I am a 2000s boy. But yet I feel this nostalgia when I watch this. It just invokes this massive feeling of nostalgia, desire to go back to a better time, I guess. But just the interactions with the boys, the great performances from them, the humor, how scary the freaking dog was. All of it was just so good the way it was made. And I really want to go back and rewatch it, but the only reason I recommended this week, I did not watch a lot of good movies. Well, most of them were just all right. I watched Sia's movie about autism, so that was, whew, that came out this year. So you'll know how I feel about it when the end of the year comes up, because at its current spot, I don't think it will move from that. So let's put it that way. It was not good. So you can tell my movie watching this week just by that. So I kind of had to just reach into the vault, and I saw Chris Stuckman's video, and I was like, oh my gosh, I really need to rewatch Sandlot. And at some point, I will do an episode on Sandlot. I will get someone in here, and we're just gonna freaking, like, gush about this movie, because I don't think I've met a single person who doesn't like this. The Sandlot is just a universally loved movie that, for whatever reason, like, it's universally loved, but no one talks about it. It's just one of those, like, you watch it a lot as a kid, and then when you grow up and you're in this sphere, no one talks about it. Chris Stuckman's the first person I've seen talk about it since I've gotten into, like, the movie community. But yeah, Sandlot, fantastic movie, needs to be talked about more. I will definitely talk about it more. Yeah, that has been today's episode. We're about an hour, 18 minutes into this, which seems to be the average length of time I talk when I do this by myself. I had like a streak before Brock came on, I think, of just hour, 18 minute long video podcast. So yeah, that has been today's episode. I'm sorry if it was a bit all over the place, or if I seemed a little tired or crazy, because I usually don't record these so early in the morning. I think I started this at like 10:30, 11, so literally I woke up at 7 o'clock, watched Independence Day, got my chicken biscuits, so I finished that up at like 10:30, and basically immediately sat down, threw some graphics on screen, and just started it up. So I haven't even had a shower today. I haven't done any of my morning routine because, well, in exactly an hour, it's currently 12:30. I have to be somewhere at 1:30. I'm going to like this 4th of July festival thing, and they forgot to hire security for it. So I'm kind of just there as like an aide / security guard. And I say that very loosely. I'm pretty much just there to make sure people don't steal stuff and make sure like they're going to have a band and food trucks. Make sure those people get what they need. So, yeah. I have nothing else to say. I got to wrap this up so I can take a shower in the next hour. Hey, that rhymed. So, thank you for watching the Cinema Lounge podcast. Check us out on YouTube. Subscribe there. Click the notification bell. Let us know in the comments below, what did you think about Independence Day? Did it hold up for you, or did it not? Have you seen any of the new movies that came out? Have you seen The Sandlot? What do you think about The Sandlot? Should we do an episode on The Sandlot? Talk about it down in the comments below. What you think about the news stories this week? Do you think I'm right about Cosby, or are you just convinced one way or the other that he's guilty, innocent? Because there's crowds in both areas. Yeah, let us know down below. Leave a like, leave a comment, hit the notification bell, watch us on Rumble, subscribe there, leave a Rumble, all that good stuff. Listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, just all that fun stuff. Leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts, because I think that's the only one of the ones that we're on that has a rating system. So do that for us. Boost us in that algorithm, baby. And yeah, that has been the Cinema Lounge podcast. I am your host, Garrett Inman, and I hope you have a great day. And I hope you had a great Independence Day. I love you all. Good night. And remember, today we celebrate our Independence Day. America.